Hello everybody, I'm Adam Bigelow. I'm the product manager for Total Workstation here at Atlas Copco. Today we're going to take a deep dive into the ILT software. You're going to learn how to set it up, configure it, how to utilize the software in the best way possible, and then we're going to talk about some of the troubleshooting you may need to know as well. So let's take a closer look. I'm going to go through the ordering info that you're going to need and also what actually makes up the ILT, and then how to really kind of look at your customer station to see how the ILT system is best going to fit into that station. So on this first screen, you can see here we have a bunch of lines that make up the actual system itself. It has a bunch of different ordering numbers, and you can see that it's kind of broken up into two main sections. You have the main products and then you have accessories. So main products is really the base station and then the tag that goes on the tool. And so you're going to need one of each of those. And then as you go down, you can see we have the accessories. So the accessories are made up of the Ethernet cables, a couple different other cables depending on if you're connecting to either a PowerFocus 4000 or 6000 and what you might need. And then we have an adapter cable. So the adapter cable is here for those customers that are going to place the base stations either above the line, next to the line, and maybe away from where the PowerFocus is going to be at. Because with the base station, you're going to get a power cable that is open end that is intended to be wired right into the 24 volts of the system. But again, like I said, if it's away from the controller, then you have an adapter cable that allows for you to plug it into a normal outlet to then get the power to the base station, again, if it's away from where the PowerFocus system is. As far as the Ethernet cable goes, we have a couple different links as far as that goes, and then we have a serial cable, again, because of PowerFocus 4000. And the intentions of these are to go either to a switch, to an outlet for the factory port, or the actual controller itself. So we have a couple different links. You can make this extended by just adding a female end adapter for longer cables that you can buy pretty much anywhere, Best Buy, any electronic store like that. When we move on to the actual hardware of the system, we talk about the base station. And here you can see we have a couple different identifiers on the front of the actual base station that lets you know what the system is doing. So we have a status light that we'll go through in just a second. But you can see that we have mounting tabs. And again, we have a couple different ways of mounting, but the system will come out of the box with 4 mounting tabs that are attached to the back of the base station. We have the touch display, so you can actually do the entire setup and configuration of this system on the front of the base station, or we'll have the ability to do this through a web browser, and that will come in the next section of the product essentials. We have the antenna. So the antenna really is for the omnidirectional antenna of the system. So basically it's a sphere around the base station. And I'll give you a little bit of an idea in the next couple slides how that really works for this system. And then the last thing is that status light. And you can kind of see here on the left side of the screen what each of those mean. So when we look at the bottom of the base station, you can see here we have the Ethernet cable. So on this side, we have the RJ26 connection. We have the power. We have either the port for the serial, and then we have a USB plug. And the USB plug is for us to do any type of software update in the future. And that's how that will be programmed and accomplished. For the tag itself, we have an LED on that as well that goes through what each of the symbols mean on there. So we have LED 1 and we have LED 2. And as you can see on the left-hand side, we have a couple different identifiers of what each of those mean. So the first one is letting you know that you're either connected to the base station or not. And then the second one is letting you know it goes between blue and green, whether you're in the footprint that you have established as far as the area goes or not. So that's kind of letting you know just from an identifier of just looking at the tag itself, what the system is also doing. So when we look at an overview of the installation, there's a lot of things here that we have as far as key characteristics that we want to be looking at, but we really want to be making sure that we're not necessarily putting this right behind a metal object. But the system is 6.5 gigahertz, so it will allow for us to be able to communicate between the tag and the base station with not a whole lot of interference. But again, for us to have the best quality there, we recommend not putting it behind any type of metal object. You can also see that depending on the station, where you want to have it in the center of the actual work area. So I mentioned that it was a sphere basically around the base station itself. And you can see here in this image what we want to try to accomplish if you have a moving line, if you have a vehicle that you're working on, any part that's going to come into the station. If you're going to set up an area, you want to make sure that you're placing that base station exactly where it should be. So you can see here in this image of it being placed correctly, it's right in the middle of that vehicle. And by doing that, you now are allowing it to have that workable space where the tool can work regardless of it being the front or rear of the vehicle, because in a lot of cases, our battery tools are doing multiple tasks within that station. And then you can see the second one with the red X. And essentially what you're trying to accomplish here is eliminating the tool from walking between car to car or being used outside of the area that it's dedicated for. When we look at an actual drawing of it on the picture on the left or a real life image on the right hand side, you can see that these are placed somewhat higher above the line and placed on an angle downward. And the purpose of this again is because it is a sphere that you have to be careful that anything that it's going to do facing forward, it will be allowed to do behind it. So if you say, for instance, the tool is going to be able to work within a 3-meter distance from the base station, you have to recognize that it's going to work 3 meters behind it as well. So in a lot of cases when you're placing it, you really want to be conscious of that you don't have a line going from right to left that you're working on, but then the line right behind it is maybe going left to right. So you want to be conscious of that when we talk about the ILT system with our customers and when we look at the actual placement of the system. As far as mounting goes, I talked about the actual mounting feet on the system, but we also want to talk about the fact that on the back of the base station, there is a hole designed for us to be able to mount different types of accessories like ball joints to the actual system that can be mounted to either railings above. And we have a couple different things that we already have set up in the system with a company called Item. And you can see here in the red image that these are already set up in our system to be able to order direct. And we are doing a really good job of keeping the cost down on this because we know customers are going to want these to be able to mount with. So that right there are the two ordering numbers that you would need to be able to have the socket and the ball to put this on a wall or a fixturing. So the last thing I want to touch on in this section is basically just giving you a close-up view of the system and two different options that you have. So like I mentioned, you do have the capabilities of going either serial or Ethernet, but you also have the ability to go to the auxiliary port on the PowerFocus 6000 system as well. And in this, we have a cable that's available for that as well. So this just gives you a bunch of different options as far as how you actually place this. I hope you found this video informative. If you do have any questions, please feel free to reach out to your Atlas Copco representative. Thank you.